Dexter Morgan has survived everything. A federal investigation that almost put his name on the Bay Harbor butcher case. A brother who knew exactly who he was and tried to use it against him. 8 seasons of people getting close enough to the truth to destroy him, and every single time he walked away. Then, his own son shot him in the chest and left him for dead in the snow. He walked away from that too. Dexter Resurrection Season 1 premiered July 13th, 2025. Drew 3.1 million global viewers in its first 3 days, the most streamed Showtime premiere ever, and was renewed for Season 2 in October 2025. Filming starts April 13th, 2026. The target release is October 2026, the 20th anniversary of the original Dexter pilot. But none of that is the interesting part. The interesting part is what Dexter said in the Season 1 finale while sailing away on a stolen yacht. The Statue of Liberty behind him, Prater's body in the harbor after Prater had already killed Angel Batista earlier that night. Harry taught me the code, but my urges are evolving. That one line changes everything about what Season 2 is actually going to be. And once you understand why, you never watch this franchise the same way again. Resurrection Season 1 reframes the code as a system Harry created primarily to keep Dexter from getting caught, and strongly suggests it was less about morality and more about survival, even though the franchise has historically treated it as both. When the original series started in 2006, Harry Morgan, Dexter's adoptive father and Miami homicide detective, built the code after watching young Dexter show signs of violent urges following the murder of his biological mother. The code's most important rule was always Rule 1, don't get caught. Everything else, only kill killers, never kill innocents, never get emotionally involved, was built around protecting that first rule. Dexter's canon has historically treated the code as both a survival system and a moral framework Harry tried to impose. Resurrection Season 1 puts significant weight on the survival side of that equation. It does so from the very first episode. In episode 2, when Dexter steps in to stop a serial killer targeting rideshare drivers, a man the media was calling the Dark Passenger, Harry's voice immediately pushes back. Harry asks Dexter directly what he's doing, telling him that stopping murders before they happen isn't in the code and puts Dexter at risk. Dexter's answer was 2 words: since now. Then, in the Season 1 finale, standing over Leon Prater on the kill table, Prater laughed at Dexter for being a serial killer with a conscience. "This code is odd," Prater said. And by that point, Dexter had already blown past the code's emotional detachment rules multiple times over, protecting Harrison, grieving Batista, building real loyalty to his landlord blessing Kamara and his family. The closing monologue makes it official. Dexter said out loud, "Harry taught me the code to keep me from getting caught, to control my urges, but my urges are evolving. Not gone, not traded in, evolving." That is a different thing entirely, and Season 2 inherits that version of the character. For most of the franchise, the code has been the framework guiding Dexter's actions. Every time the show looked like it might fully commit to showing who Dexter is without the guardrails, the code pulls him back. Resurrection Season 1 is the first time in franchise history that Dexter himself admitted, on a boat sailing away free, that the code no longer fully fits him. He hasn't abandoned it, but the finale implies that he may be moving beyond Harry's original version of it. He hasn't abandoned it, he may be redefining how he applies it. The code built everything that made Dexter work as a show, but Resurrection's finale made one of the clearest statements that the franchise has ever made. The code was Harry's answer for a Dexter that Harry understood. Season 2 may explore a version of Dexter Harry never anticipated. Now subscribe right now before the next section, because what Dexter actually walked away from Season 1 with is the exact setup that Season 4 of the original series had, and this time he's doing it without a desk job, without a badge, without anyone watching him clock in. That shift in the code matters on its own, but what makes Season 2 genuinely different from anything this franchise has done before is what Dexter left that yacht with, not just a new mindset, a list. The files Dexter took from Leon Prater's vault at the end of Season 1 are the most important story setup the franchise has built since the Trinity Killer arc in Season 4 of the original series. And the structure Clyde Phillips confirmed for Season 2 proves the show knows exactly what it has. In the Season 1 finale, after killing Prater and cleaning the kill room in Prater's own vault, Dexter grabbed files Prater has been collecting on real killers before triggering the security alarm to bring the NYPD in. He took those files with him on Prater's stolen yacht. On screen, the file visible on top appears to be for Al Walker, Eric Stonestreet's character Rapunzel, a member of Prater's serial killer social club who got away clean. That file establishes that Dexter is now operating like a self-appointed hunter with a pre-built target list, and Dexter now operates without the police job that once helped him monitor the very investigations that were looking at him. Showrunner Clyde Phillips confirmed the Season 2 structure in an appearance on the Dissecting Dexter podcast, saying, "We've got a great big bad for the next season and some others that we'll call little bads, the weekly bads." He then confirmed on the Dark Passengers podcast on November 18, 2025, that Don Frampt, the name on the New York Ripper file that Dexter left behind for Detective Wallace in the finale, will appear in Season 2 for the first time on screen. The Ripper used a long hooked rod as his weapon, stopped killing years ago, but kept tormenting survivors with phone calls, and was never caught. Now both Dexter and the NYPD are setting up the possibility of two parallel hunts for the same man from different directions. The original Dexter series worked best when it had a season-long villain that matched Dexter's ability and forced the show to work at its edge. Trinity, played by John Lithgow in Season 4, is still the gold standard because Arthur Mitchell was organized, domestic, believed he was righteous, and kept winning until the very last moment. The New York Ripper setup in Season 2 has the same bones. A killer smart enough to have gone cold for years, sadistic enough to still torment the families of victims by phone, and now being pursued simultaneously by Dexter off the books and by Wallace through the NYPD. The structure Clyde Phillips described, a main villain surrounded by smaller targets Dexter worked through one by one, is exactly the rhythm that made Seasons 1 through 4 of the original show hold together. Season 2 of Resurrection inherits that structure with one critical difference. Dexter is no longer hiding behind a job, a wife, or a city that knows him. He is a man on a boat with a list, and his urges are evolving. The list and the Ripper give Season 2 its plot engine. But the most complicated piece walking into Season 2 isn't who Dexter is hunting, it's who is standing right next to him. Harrison's kill in Episode 1 of Resurrection Season 1 changes the father-son dynamic going into Season 2 in a way that the show has never had to deal with before, because Harrison has already crossed the line into participation, which could reshape their relationship in Season 2. In the very first episode of Resurrection Season 1, Harrison Morgan, working as a bellhop at the Empire Hotel in Manhattan after shooting his father and fleeing Iron Lake, killed a hotel guest named Ryan Foster. Ryan had drugged a woman named Shauna and was taking her to his room. Harrison, who had met Shauna earlier and knew she wasn't married to this man, followed them. When he heard Shauna saying no behind the closed door, he went in, fought Ryan, and beat him to death with a toilet tank lid. He then cut the body apart, using what Dexter had already taught him in New Blood, but made enough mistakes that sanitation workers found body parts, which brought Detective Claudette Wallace and Melvin Olivia into the case. Harrison's kill is not like Dexter's. Harrison is not calm after it. He had nightmares. He was haunted by the kill. The ghost of Ryan Foster literally appeared to Harrison in his sleep and at moments of stress throughout the season. Jack Alcott said in a Collider interview while Season 1 was airing that Harrison is under pressure from all sides, and that the kill breaks him in a way that his father had never been broken by one. James Remar, who plays Harry Morgan, said in the same interview that without Harry's guidance, Dexter would have been in an institution, and that what holds Dexter together is the code giving his urge somewhere to go. Harrison has no code of his own. He has Dexter, who now openly admits his own code is shifting. In the Season 1 finale, Harrison helped subdue Prater by stabbing him with the syringe Dexter had given him, a dose of M99, the same drug Dexter had used to knock out targets since Season 1 of the original series. Harrison accepted the syringe in the previous episode and used it when the moment came. That's not a small thing. That is Harrison actively participating in his father's ritual while still being the person his father's choices were supposed to set free. The show built for years towards Harrison being the one person who could either redeem Dexter or be destroyed by him. New Blood tried to close that story and left it unfinished. Resurrection Season 1 opened it back up and added a layer to the original series that it never had. Harrison, now more deeply involved than ever before. Season 2 gets a Harrison who is killed, who has helped incapacitate Prater, who has watched Dexter sail away with a list of targets. The question of whether he follows or stays creates a show neither version of this franchise has told before. Harrison's kill in Episode 1 of Resurrection Season 1 is the most important single scene in that entire season, and not because of the violence, because of what came after it. Harrison's guilt, his nightmare, his choice to help anyway in the finale. That is a character in direct conflict with himself. Season 2 gets that version of Harrison, with the dynamic between him and Dexter now carrying weight that no amount of distance or gunfire has managed to erase. Now, drop your take in the comments. Do you think that Detective Wallace catches up to Dexter in Season 2, or does the New York Ripper become the bigger threat to both of them? Harrison is one pressure point, but season 2 also walks into something the original show always eventually managed to resolve: a cop getting close enough to be a real problem. This time, the cop is smarter, the case is colder, and Dexter left her the file himself. Katia Sarah's Detective Claudette Wallace going into season 2 is one of the most prepared investigators Dexter has faced at the start of a new storyline, because for the first time in the franchise, the detective pursuing him didn't have to piece anything together from scratch. Dexter handed her the lead himself. Throughout Resurrection Season 1, Detective Wallace was established as someone whose entire professional identity had been shaped by her failure to catch the New York Ripper before the killings went cold. She investigated the case, couldn't close it, and carried that weight into every scene she was in. Showtime confirmed Wallace will return for season 2. In January 2026, writer Scott Reynolds posted a photo on Instagram from the writer's room with Katia Sarah, captioning it, "Still on the hunt for that New York Ripper guy." That post was the first public signal from inside the writer's room about where Wallace's season 2 story is going. In the season 1 finale, after Dexter triggered the alarm at Prater's Gala, Wallace and her partner Detective Melvin Olivia were among the first officers to reach Prater's vault. Olivia found the Ripper's hooked rod weapon, an actual murder weapon from the cold case, sitting among Prater's trophies. Wallace found the file with Don Framp's name. She also found Angel Batista's body and the gun with Prater's fingerprints. The NYPD now has officially reopened the New York Ripper case with a suspect named for the first time in investigation's history. Separately, the Bay Harbor Butcher case, Dexter's original alias, is also still technically open, with Batista having come to New York specifically to pursue it before Prater killed him. The original series kept Dexter one step ahead of law enforcement because his police job gave him access to the very investigations targeting him. He could see what they knew before they could use it. In season 1 of Resurrection, he had no badge, no access, and survived anyway by controlling the chaos around Prater's Gala. In season 2, he has even less institutional cover, and Wallace is walking in with a name, a weapon, and a career's worth of motivation. Wallace begins season 2 with more concrete leads than most investigators in the franchise had at the start of their cases. Frank Lundy in season 2 of the original series came the closest to catching Dexter of any law enforcement officer before him, and Lundy only got that close after months of building the case from nothing. Detective Wallace is one of the most credible law enforcement threats Dexter has faced at the start of any chapter in this franchise. The Ripper case and the Bay Harbor Butcher case are now both officially active, both connected to the same city, and both being worked by the same detective, whose partner just found a murder weapon that links them. If season 2 gives her the room to work, she has earned every inch of it. 8 seasons of the original show, New Blood, season 1 of Resurrection. Every single time the franchise got close to showing a Dexter who was fully, openly, unambiguously himself, the code reset. The act returned, and the mask went back on. Season 1 of Resurrection was the first time the finale ended with Dexter not rebuilding the mask. He sailed away saying he is exactly who he needs to be. His urges are evolving. Harrison is now more deeply involved than ever before. He has a list of real targets. Dexter now operates without the police job that once helped him monitor investigation, and no city where people know his face. And Don Framp, the New York Ripper, is strongly positioned to be the next season's central antagonist, confirmed to appear on screen for the first time, with both Dexter and Detective Wallace converging on the same name from opposite sides of the law. The code gave Dexter a reason to keep treating the Dark Passenger as something he was managing. That monologue in the finale was his first time he stopped framing it that way. He's not managing it, he's following it, with more clarity than before, and someone who understands him, however reluctantly, still in his orbit. Season 2 is what happens when Dexter Morgan stops asking Harry's ghost for permission. Filming starts April 13th of 2026. October 2026 is the target. The writer's room is already deep into it, and for the first time in 20 years of this franchise, the most unsettling thing about Dexter isn't whether he'll get caught, it's that he doesn't seem particularly worried about it anymore. If that is the version of Dexter that you've been waiting for since season 4, subscribe and watch our full breakdown of how long it would take social media to expose Dexter Morgan. Because once you apply modern internet scrutiny to Dexter's life, the cracks start appearing everywhere.